Hey everyone, I'm Alice. Welcome to another GRE video. We're continuing on our journey through verbal discrete questions, and this is part of a quite long series, so please make sure to check the playlist up there in case you've missed any videos. Today we're going to be looking at a double blank question in the medium category. A lot of what you want to keep in mind is that this whole section with discrete questions is there to test vocabulary and your understanding of that vocabulary in context. So that means that you want to be studying vocabulary, but also making sure that all of those words you're studying, you understand how they are actually used and what they look like in sentences. One way that you can do this is not just look at the words and the definitions, but make sure that you create your own crazy sentences and crazy scenarios that help you remember and link those things in your mind. If you've ever heard of people who have incredible memories, they have some sort of technique, some sort of crazy way to help them remember a lot of different things. And what I found is with vocabulary, if you take some part of the word or associate it with something that makes sense to you, it becomes way easier to remember. So one of the examples that I have, for example, is the word aggrandize. How I remember it is this sentence: his grand eyes helped aggrandize Grandpa's position in the company. So the reason is aggrandize means to increase the status, the power, or the wealth of something. So in this situation, Grandpa has grand eyes, and that really made him stand out in the company. And perhaps you can even make this an eye doctor or something like that to help you remember even better. But I have a few of these tips on my shorts tab, so if you're interested in improving your vocabulary in sort of a fun way like this, make sure to check it out. On to the actual question for today. This comes from the official ETS book. Like Be la Barto, Ruth Crawford not only brought a composer's acumen to the notation of folk music, she also had a marked blank the task. This was clear in her agonizing over how far to try to represent the minute details of her performance in a written text, and this blank makes her work a landmark in ethnomusicology. Quite a long question, feel free to pause and look it over, but as we go through it, you can see that there are a few different vocabulary words that you should be familiar with, but you might not be. The first one is acumen. This is a sort of good judgment, an ability to sort of just know and make quick decisions and have them be really good ones. So just sort of an intimate knowledge of whatever it is. In this case, Ruth Crawford really intimately knew the notation of folk music. We also have here minute, so it looks like the word minute, but minute means very small, so the very small details of a performance. We have that, and then the last word, ethnomusicology. This is not really something that I would expect you to just know, but based on the makeup of the word, ethno, meaning sort of the study of relating to culture and people, and then music, we all know what that is, and then ology being the science of. So this would be something along the science of the culture of music and something like that. The other thing that you want to take note of reading through this is the transition words that help you put everything into context. Here we have not only, but also, underlined here. Not only and also basically help us align those two ideas. Ruth Crawford not only had a composer's acumen, she also had a marked blank, the task. What we know is that because in the first first part of the sentence, we're talking about a composer's acumen, something very positive, a deep knowledge of something. Also indicates that the first blank there is going to be about something very similar. Again, some sort of skill, some sort of knowledge or intimate relationship with. All right, so that is that. We also have in the second sentence, agonizing over minute details. What we can draw from this is that Ruth Crawford was very familiar with folk music and how it should be written, and it was clear in how she looked at all of those small details, really thought about them, and really tried to make it work. So we have and, which helps us link those two, agonizing over minute details, into what we would expect for the second blank. Drawing these connections before even looking at the answer choices helps you get a good idea of what type of word you're looking for. Let's take a look at the actual answer choices themselves. Remember, for this type of question, when you have a double blank, you'll have 3 answer choices for each of the blanks. And just to review, we want to ensure that Ruth Crawford has good judgment and ability as designated by the word acumen, and she pays attention to details. So those are the minute details. So you can assume here that she does quite good work. The answer choices are A, reverence for, B, detachment from, and C, curiosity about. For the second blank, we have fastidiousness, didacticism, and iconoclasm. Notice, especially for D, E, and F, that these may be words you're unfamiliar with, so that's why understanding vocabulary in context is so important, and we'll break it all down. Making sure that we understand all of the answer choices for the first blank, we're looking for a word that really highlights Ruth Crawford's composer's acumen, her good judgment, her good ability with folk music. So number 1 is reverence for, meaning respect, detachment from, meaning separation, and curiosity about, which can sort of imply that she's a novice or that she somehow doesn't really know what she's doing. Now, curiosity is not always a novice trait, of course, but in this case, because we're saying a composer's acumen and having a marked something, we're really looking for a word that reflects her acumen, her skill, her judgment, her ability. In this case, it's quite clear that the correct answer should be A, reverence for. To look at the sentence, Ruth Crawford had acumen, she had a lot of skill and knowledge, and she really respected the task. She really respected the ability to notate folk music. And you can see that those two ideas align, which makes sense with the structure of the sentence, not only also, and that supports that A is the correct answer. Looking at blank 2, so remember this is about the minute details. The minute details making her work a landmark in ethnomusicology. So something that is well respected, well skilled, and of course you can look back at the previous sentence, acumen, reverence for, the notation of folk music. The different answer choices, again, we have fastidiousness, which means attentiveness. So basically understanding all the different details and making sure you know what they are. We also have didacticism, which is related to education. You can say educational or teaching. And we have iconoclasm, which is essentially a belief in attacking established institutions. So something that is very rebellious. Looking again at the sentence, we're looking at how she is agonizing over minute details of her performance, and this makes her work a landmark in ethnomusicology. This relates to how detailed she is, how close she looks at something. fastidiousness makes the most sense here. Didacticism doesn't make sense because it's not really clear that Ruth Crawford is using any of her work or anything to teach or to educate, and there's no indication that she is doing something totally new or rebelling against established ideology. Iconoclasm also doesn't really make sense here. Just to remind you, keep in mind that when you're trying to learn new vocabulary, you want to test it and understand it in context. So make sure that what you're looking at makes sense in sentences, in context, and a way that you can really help yourself do this is creating your own crazy sentences in mnemonics to help you remember, or remember again, refer to my shorts tab that can help you a little bit with this. If you're looking for more information on how you can actually implement these tips and tricks into getting a better score on your GRE, please visit alicechengre.com. I have more information about what it's like to work with me. For example, that I was patient and kind, I explained things to Sarah thoroughly and offered examples and tips. With Joshua, I gave him a better understanding of what he should work on to get over that 150 score that he was aiming for. I have more information about how private GRE tutoring works with me. For example, you can choose between writing, quantitative, and/or the verbal section. I will give you a customized study plan with session agendas for each time we meet. I can provide sample questions, different study resources, do a content review, go over strategies and examples with you, and as always, I offer flexible payment and scheduling options. Thanks so much for watching.